Okay, let's make a knife. I'm feeling froggy today. I don't know what I'm actually doing, but well, come over here and turn on a machine. Oh, finally. Haha. All right. Well, let's put this thing in manual mode and rock and roll. Uncalibrated. All right, fine. Well, we'll calibrate. Do your thing, machine. Do your thing. Ah, look at that. We made a knife. Ah, hard day's work is done. See you later. Thanks for joining me. All kidding aside, there is a lot that goes on in making knives. Whether we're making them in our shop, in our custom shop, or we're having them outsourced manufactured, there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes that nobody really ever sees. So I figured I'd make a video that kind of showcases and shows what we do, kind of how it happens, and some of the behind the scenes stuff, because there's so many times that there's either a misconception of, oh, well, you make knives with CNC, you push a green button and a knife pops out, or you outsource manufacture, so you're not actually designing anything or making anything. It just shows up on your door and you're selling something. So I thought I would alleviate a little bit of misconception and kind of give you guys an understanding of how everything works at Hoback Knives. So come with me on a knife making adventure. So we'll give you a rundown of the shop itself. I'm at the old shop right now, and as you can tell, there's junk everywhere. We are just trying to get everything moved to the new facility once we get it finished, but I've been working on it myself. We got the shooting range for employees. One of our employees' dogs. This is Kona. Kona. Sit. Hey. Sit. Good boy. So we'll walk into the shop. It's nice and warm today, and forgive the mess. We got a lot going on. Brought in some new equipment, vertical bandsaw, and some benches and tables and stuff. Got the grind area, new sandblaster. This disaster over here. We're working on it, getting things finished up. Coming over, we have some machines decommissioned, like the router, just because it's going to get moved here in a couple of months. Got the Kitamira decommissioned at the moment so that we can move it to the new shop. Some sharpening. It's been working pretty well. The Tormek is pretty slow, but it's pretty easy for just about anybody to run. So I can have anybody come to the shop, and if we got a repair job or a custom job or whatever, we can resharpen pretty easily. On here, we can set angles. Does a pretty good job. Overall, I wish it was a little bit faster, but I like it. More tooling and stuff that we got to put away, and tapping heads. Everything needs to go to the new shop. Working on some customs and a new project over here for a folder system. Some swords, but this is the day-to-day. So this is QC. Dave does a pretty good job of keeping all this nice and tidy. We just got a new bench in here. Basically everything comes in the doors and heads over here. We have a QC setup, I would hope, that is pretty well outfitted for what we do. When stuff comes in, like we got a new batch of secret squirrel stuff coming in and going back out pretty quickly. So that whole batch is already spoken for and out the door. But basically it comes in, And so this is for outsourced manufacturing. So anything that we have done by any of our outsource manufacturers like we or Best Tech or anybody else for that matter, it will come in, it will get pulled out of the boxes, we will inventory it, we'll count everything that's there, and then it goes through, depending on the knife, about 20 to 30 point inspection process, which basically means we are checking fit, form, and function on everything there is to know on the knife. Clean them all off, make sure everything is sharp, touch up and adjust anything that needs to be taken care of in that regard. And then it goes out to the end customer or a dealer or another retailer, what have you, depending on what the job is. But there is a massive amount of quality control, everything from checking finishes to function, open and close. Does the lock stick? Is it clean? Are there any blemishes in the finish? Does it function as designed? And from there, once it passes that, it gets packaged, and then from there it goes out to our dealers or end customer when you direct buy from our website, which we do. And then when it comes to the custom side of thing, it's a similar process, at least towards the end. But the custom stuff is made here in Idaho. So we're running on the Herco. Lately, I've been running most everything on the Herco since we turned the Kittimer off so we can move it. So we have lots of inspection. A lot of this goes into QC as well. Micrometers, calipers, all of our gauging stuff, measuring all of our metrology equipment is typically tucked away in cabinets so that everything is nice and clean. So, we've got all of our gauge pin kits for checking hole diameters and tolerances. All of our gauges, go, no-go gauges, all that fun stuff. So yeah, that kind of gives you an idea of, how that goes from there. The design aspect of things, that's kind of a neat setup. So sadly, I will take you into my disaster of an office and my home-built computer job that's going here and kind of give you guys an idea of how we do things. So I'm still designing in a very old SolidWorks setup here. So I'll kind of give you a rundown. So this is the Tactical Toucan. This will be coming out here in a couple of months. And basically what I do is I design every single component from scratch. I'll typically draw it out on a piece of paper, and then I will scan that piece of paper and bring it into SolidWorks, and I will kind of do a rough sketched outline in SolidWorks. Once I am there, I will let me open some of this up here so you can kind of see the whole knife. So once I have got a rough outline, I just come through and I start designing individual components. Everything that goes into these knives is like something I've designed and something set with a certain number of expectations. So if we're going to have this outsourced manufactured, everything is toleranced, everything is blueprinted, everything is set up. And then when we go to that manufacturer, you say, okay, this is how I want this to work. What's the function? How are we going to pull this off? This Tactical Toucan was a pretty in-depth project. As you can see, the backspacer can actually be removed and you can still use the knife as a hawkbill instead of a karambit. But also what I wanted in this knife design was a ring that you could remove without having to disassemble the whole knife. So you can loosen the backspacer screws. Let me open that back up. So when you loosen the backspacer screws, you can, and the pivot just a little bit, this backspacer portion here will actually slide out. So you look at it real close. just pinned with a built-in pin to the ring. So you can pull these scales slightly apart and this ring will pop right out. So that works really well. From this point, after I've designed everything and I've gone through, what I can do is go into the blueprint mode, and basically I am just blueprinting all these parts individually, setting that all up and tolerancing things and making sure that everything is exactly where I want it. From there, we choose our materials, every material. Oftentimes lately, we send the material out to our manufacturer, whoever that may be, whoever we decide is a best fit for this project. And then we'll send them materials. We'll send them blade steel. Like on the Huskies, we call up New Jersey Steel and we get a bunch of Nitro V sent over here. We cut it up, we blank it, and then we ship it directly to the manufacturer so that they can use it there. Sometimes they have the material that we want available, so then we will just go in and have them use that stuff. But it's all called out to our specifications. It's not just here's a rough drawing, make me a working knife. No, we have working parts. I can use this same drawing and make this knife in-house if I want to. So from here, let me show you some blueprints and we'll kind of go from there out to the prototyping phase. So forgive me, I can't show you the blueprints for the Tactical Toucan. It's just a little too new, but the Hoback's been around long enough that it doesn't really matter. This is a pretty old model. This was actually for a Mark IV, so this was really irrelevant at this point, but it's safe enough to show off. So, basically we have to give some tolerancing to certain aspects. This is a little bit dumbed down, but, that's kind of the nature of how this goes. I can't really give you everything. But it kind of gives you an idea. We're making call outs for holes, what screws we want to use, edge chamfering, things like that. Like, I'm a huge proponent of the only sharp edge on a knife should be the edge. So really, I got to make sure that all of these edges around these holes are chamfered or radiused. Internal pocketing, has got radiuses on it, engravings, things like that. And even going up, like we used to do a lot of this stuff on paper. So this is just a Hoback backspacer. I think this was for the Mark I. Yeah. So, that's how far we take this stuff. This isn't just, I'm going to, send a drawing over and, make me a knife, XYZ manufacturer. So there's a lot that goes into this stuff. So let me show you the first prototype of the Tactical Toucan and then kind of give you a rundown from what happens from there. So here is the prototype for the Tactical Toucan. Works pretty cool. So basically, I gave you the rundown. I go in, I sketch it out on paper, I take it into CAD, I make a full 3D CAD model of every single component that goes into this. And then we go through we choose whatever manufacturer we think is going to be best suited for the job. That's why we have multiple manufacturers. From there, we specify materials, selection, finishes, everything that we want to happen there, up to and including, like on this is an aluminum frame, so it's type 3 mil-spec hard anodizing. That was, a specification that we called out. It wasn't just anodize this black for me. No, I want a type 3 mil-spec hard anodizing because it holds up better than a type 2 black anodizing does. We went with a button lock on this, which is something pretty unique. I don't think you've seen that much of anywhere, for a button lock karambit. And then also the fact that this is kind of a dual knife, so to speak. If you pull the ring off of this, the backspacer is integrated into the frames. So when you pull this out, you have a usable recurve or hawkbill style knife. So, there's a lot that goes into this. There was a couple of revisions after we got this prototype that we wanted to make. So, I went through, modified the drawings, talked to the manufacturer, made sure we squared that away, specifying a ceramic, if I can get my camera to focus here, a ceramic ball bearing in here for glass breaking. We had a little bit of confusion there, and we got a stainless steel bearing in there, so that was something that we really wanted to adjust. I wanted to make sure that it was a ceramic one. It's going to break glass a lot better. So you put this in your hand, you can smash glass. There's a lot that kind of goes into this stuff. It's even confusing for manufacturers whether they make knives or not. We used to just have parts machined, and then we would do assembly here in house. In a lot of times on a lot of different knives in the past, and from for a turnkey manufacturer, I had to explain to them that this ring, yeah, it would be simpler if there was a dowel pin that was press fit in here, but I wanted less components, and I wanted this ring to come out without having to disassemble the whole knife. So, there's some unique challenges there that take a lot of explanation. There are times when it's so hard to explain that you have to make one and just show them, like, hey, this is how this goes. There's been times where in the past on textures and stuff like that, I've just had to machine them here just to show, what the texture looks like. And there's just subtle things that go along with this, like the landing pad for the pocket clip. Since we typically, other than a small handful of knives, always do a left and a right hand carry for the pocket clip, I do a landing pad under the texture here, and it's on both sides. This landing pad keeps, if the pocket clip just landed on this, when you went to go put the knife in your pocket, it would stutter, and you would have a hard time getting it in your pocket. So I do a landing pad here. There's just design aspects of 20 years of manufacturing, making, and designing knives that I've learned. They're just little subtle things that really make a big difference. Having chamfered edges, you can't just chamfer an edge and expect it to be a comfortable knife. So we also call out radiuses along the edges, lots of tumbling and stuff like that. So it's still comfortable to use, but it gives you the look that I'm after when it comes to these 45-degree chamfers and some of these shallow chamfers. The edges can still be sharp even though you chamfered it. So that's a lifetime of learning about how to make knives that I've gone through to be able to integrate that into the designs. So from here, once we've got prototyping done, we go into full-scale manufacturing. We've got to pay a lot of money to have a run of knives get off the ground and get going. And then once we pay that, we've got to wait for a long time. So we're out of pocket for all of that money that goes into that. That could be $20, $30, $40, $50,000 that we have to turn loose and then wait for, a couple hundred knives, if we make that many, to come in the door so that we can turn around and sell them and then get them out the door. So there's a lot of risk involved there when it comes to the business side of things. So now that we have turned manufacturing loose, it's just playing the waiting game. We paid our money. Now we wait for them to come in, and then we go through this giant quality control process once they do come in to make sure that the knives are perfect before they go out the door. And I say perfect kind of tongue in cheek. Nothing's perfect, but we do as best we can with making sure everything goes out the door and not having any issues that we can see. And that comes again from 20 years experience of making knives to the best of my ability, and then working with manufacturers for years to get them up to the level that I expect the knives to turn out to. So hopefully that's a really good insight for you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Throw them in the comments. Love to hear from you guys. Thanks for joining me. Check out our knives. We have some stuff in stock on our website at www.jhobackknives.com. Check out our custom website. That's hobackcustoms.com. We have stuff in stock, both websites. Also on jhobackknives.com, go check out our dealer website. All of our dealers are listed there that have knives, are stocking dealers. So go check it out. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Please hit that subscribe button down below, and looking forward to putting out more video content for you guys in the future. Thank you.